Dear students and viewers, greetings. I am Professor Archana Kaushik from the Department of Social Work, University of Delhi, Delhi. I welcome you all to this module on Parenting Adolescents and Youngsters, Part 2. The learning objectives of this session are to understand the multifaceted challenges faced by adolescents in contemporary society, to analyze how peer pressure, substance abuse, and social media shape adolescent behavior, to identify the signs of mental health stressors such as depression, exam pressure, and suicidal ideation, and to explore the critical role of family and social workers in navigating these issues. The learning outcomes of this session are as follows. After going through the session, the learners will be able to understand psychosocial skills, to understand the psychosocial risks impacting adolescent development, critically assess behavioral patterns and vulnerabilities in adolescents, identify practical methods of parental guidance and social work interventions, design preventive and curative support frameworks, and develop communication skills for engaging adolescents and their families. Adolescents, those in the fluid, formative stage between childhood and adulthood, navigate a world that is fast changing and complex. From approximately 10 to 24 years of age, young people undergo profound shifts biologically, emotionally, cognitively, and socially. The adolescents and young adults form a critical demographic due to their ongoing multidimensional aspects of development. It is marked by rapid changes, puberty, identity exploration, emotional intensity, and desire for autonomy. It is a window of opportunity but also vulnerability. While this phase is rich with possibility, it is equally marked by fragility. As we discussed in previous sessions, that characteristic features of adolescents and youngsters. Let us now examine the developmental tasks of these stages before we study the challenges. Developmental tasks during adolescence include building a coherent sense of identity, establishing peer and intimate relationships, guiding independence from parents, making academic and career decisions, and developing emotional regulation and self-esteem. When on track, adolescents become confident, productive, and socially responsible individuals. They contribute positively to national development through innovation, civic engagement, and economic participation. Countries with supportive youth environments benefit from what is called the demographic dividend. However, if these developmental tasks are derailed due to family neglect, poor schooling, peer pressure, poverty, or trauma, adolescents may face issues like substance abuse, school dropout, delinquency, mental illness, or suicide. It is a vulnerable yet promising generation. These not only affect individual lives but also burden public health, law enforcement, and social services. Thus, adolescence is not just a stage of life, it is a social investment. Recognizing their vulnerabilities helps in designing effective family, school, and policy level interventions. Indeed, parenting as a critical variable plays a very important role in adolescent development. A balance between parental control, that is monitoring and guidance, and parental support, which is empathy and communication, is crucial. Adolescents need boundaries to feel secure and support to feel validated. Positive parenting fosters resilience, responsible behavior, and emotional well-being. In contrast, authoritarian, neglectful, or overtly permissive parenting may lead to rebellion, anxiety, or poor self control. Parenting involvement in this stage should shift from directive to collaborative. Social workers can help families understand this evolving dynamic and coach them on appropriate strategies. Effective parenting during adolescence is a protective shield against many psychosocial risks. In this session, we shall be talking about the common problems and challenges faced by adolescents and youngsters, which can be prevented or dealt with at an early stage or may flare up to have deleterious effects. In each of these problems, we will examine the role of parenting. It is important to acknowledge that in most cases, parents genuinely strive to do the best for their children based on the knowledge, understanding, skills, and resources available to them at that point in time. The intention here is not to assign blame or highlight shortcomings. Rather, the objective is to explore and better understand the dynamics between parents and children. By doing so, we aim to build more nurturing, supportive, and emotionally intelligent relationships that support the holistic development of adolescents. Growth is possible when families reflect, learning together, and adapt to changing needs with compassion. In teenage years, the influence of peers and friends takes the center stage in the lives of adolescents, which has a bearing on the academic performance, career related decisions, and other life choices. Adolescents are in a crucial stage of identity formation where peer acceptance becomes vital. The desire to fit in can lead to conformity in language, appearance, and behavior. Adolescents seek peer approval, often prioritizing it over parental guidance. It can also trigger risky behaviors. While peers can offer emotional support and social learning, negative peer pressure can lead to academic neglect, truancy, bullying, or substance abuse and other risk behaviors or delinquency. This is the age where friendships become lifelines. Identity is questioned and reshaped, and independence is sought yet feared. It is also a time when decisions are made under the influence of emotions, often without the scaffolding of mature reasoning. These characteristics make adolescents particularly vulnerable to peer pressure, emotional turmoil, anxiety, self doubt, and risky behavior. Many of them struggle silently. Some may falter when their achievements do not meet expectations or when their appearance is compared unfavorably to unattainable social media standards. Others withdraw when they experience rejection in romantic relationships, academic failure, bullying, or exclusion. A single unkind word or a dismissed cry for help can push them into loneliness. These are instances when a teenager mentions being bullied at school and the response they get is a casual, "Don't take it seriously, these things happen." This kind of a reaction, however unintentional, can signal to the child that their emotional world is not worth acknowledging. Similarly, when an adolescent expresses career confusion, a sharp reminder to focus and don't waste time may shut the door to open dialogue, replacing curiosity and shame. These are not failures in parenting, but reflections of broad gaps in awareness, support, and space to grow. Most caregivers try their best with what they know and have. But without a lens into the adolescent world, even well-meaning efforts can be misaligned with what the child actually needs. If adolescents are supported thoughtfully, if they are heard and not just advised, if their struggles are understood rather than judged, they are far more likely to emerge as resilient, empathetic, and constructive members of society. Their well being is not just a personal matter, it directly connects with the nation's development as they grow into citizens, professionals, and future parents themselves. Parenting during adolescence is not about instruction but connection. It is in the quite consistent moments of parent who notices a sudden silence in their usually cheerful child, a caregiver who welcomes questions about love, exams, or fears without shutting them down, so that the adolescent feels grounded and secured. Some adults, in their concern, may unknowingly press too hard on the academic success or social image. Others may dismiss mood swings or digital obsessions as mere phases. Yet, behind many of these behaviors are layered emotional struggles, often camouflaged and often overlooked. Support doesn't always need answers. Sometimes it is about sitting next to a young person who has had a bad day, letting them speak or not speak without interruption. Control doesn't mean rigidity, but guidance that respects the growing individuality of the child. Families may not always get it right, but those who are willing to grow with their children, learning to pause, listen, and adapt, become the most powerful protective factors in their adolescent's journey. It is not about perfect parenting, it is about being present, the kind that says, I may not always understand, but I am there for you. For social workers and MSW students, this understanding is key, not just to support adolescents but also to empower families to rediscover connection and compassion in the face of modern challenges. Further, the adolescent years are marked by a growing need to belong. The approval of friends often feels more validating than that of family. This is the time when teenagers might shift their language, dressing sense, even opinions just to blend in. While healthy peer interactions promote social learning and emotional development, they can also lead young people astray. A bright student might begin missing school or underperforming simply because their new group dismisses academic effort as uncool. When adolescents and young when adults respond only by re-impeding or when they overlook the shift altogether, the adolescent's inner world remains unaddressed. In contrast, those who stay gently involved without judging or policing are often able to help the adolescent recalibrate without confrontation. Sometimes, what adolescents need most is someone who listens when they are not performing well, not someone who reminds them what is at stake. In homes where academic performance becomes a measure of worth, adolescents may bury their fears or resent the pressure. But when caregivers make room for dialogue and show curiosity about their child's world, a space opens up for both accountability and connection. Let us now take up the challenge of bullying. Bullying, whether on the playground, in WhatsApp group, or through silent exclusion, leaves deep marks. The pain of being mocked, threatened, or humiliated at a tender age can erode one's sense of self, and yet not every child speaks about it. Some fear being dismissed, others fear retaliation. There are stories of adolescents who did muster the courage to share, only to hear a weary, ignore it, or a hurried, don't be so sensitive. That moment, though fleeting for the adult, can shape a child's perception of trust and support. On the other hand, when children sense that their pain is taken seriously, that an adult is willing to understand first and act second, it restores their safety net. Sometimes aggression in adolescents marks unspoken trauma, perhaps observed at home or experienced silently. The way adults respond to these red flags, not with fear or fury, but with firm empathy, can redirect even the most volatile behavior. Next, exam stress, career confusion, and parental pressure are real and common challenges. As board exams approach, some households turn into silent pressure chambers. Expectations rise, so do tempers, sleepless nights, and fears of inadequacy. Many adolescents don't just fear failing a test, they fear failing their family's hopes. It is not uncommon to hear a young person whisper, I if I don't clear this, I will be letting everyone down. These aren't just academic concerns, they are emotional burdens. In some homes, even with good intention, discussion around careers become declarations. Choices narrow, doubts are seen as weaknesses, and support is replaced by constant reminders to work harder. But there are families who, instead of asking, why are you not studying, ask, are you okay? A parent who chooses to walk alongside their child during exam stress rather than hover over them can make all the difference. Career paths are no longer linear, and children flourish when their aspirations are met with openness rather than fixed scripts. Next major issue is social media addiction. Scrolling endlessly, checking likes, comparing lives. For many adolescents, their phones are not just devices, they are mirrors. Sometimes funhouse ones reflecting distorted versions of self worth. Some young people fall into a cycle of needing online affirmation to feel valued. When offline, they feel disconnected or irritable. In many homes, this behavior is either ignored or met with frustration. You are always on the phone. But often, this overuse isn't about addiction, it is about something deeper, a longing to be seen, heard, or understood. Families that create space for real conversations, model healthy digital habits, and replace blames with curiosity can guide their adolescents back to balance without needing to snatch the device away. Next, in the world filled with airbrushed images and curated perfections, adolescents, especially girls, begin scrutinizing themselves through a critical lens. A few stray comments, even well meaning ones, can trigger spirals of self doubt. A girl might skip meals not because she doesn't like food, but because someone once said that she could lose a little. Boys too are not spared. Height, weight, skin tone all become targets for insecurity. Families that focus on character over appearance, that complement effort and kindness more than beauty, offer a counter narrative to toxic social standards. The home can be a mirror that reflects self-worth, not shame. Romantic relationships and intimacy usually form a major area of concern in adolescence and young adulthood. Adolescents begin to feel and explore love. These early experiences, though often hidden, carry profound emotional weight. A crush, a breakup, a betrayal, all can feel seismic to a young person. Some caregivers, in their discomfort, pretend not to see this part of adolescent life. Others respond with anger, shame, or strict rules. This drives the conversations underground, making the young persons more vulnerable to scarcity and risk. Yet, when adults show that they are willing to listen, even if they don't agree, when they leave the door open for honest conversation, adolescents are more likely to confide and less likely to hide. Further, this age cohort is also into sexual experimentation. Curiosity about one's body and sexuality is natural, but the absence of information, safety, and conversation can have severe outcomes. Many adolescents learn about sex through unfiltered sources, peers, or misinformation. Some families still believe that silence ensures safety. But silence, in reality, often breeds confusion, fear, or unsafe behaviors. Adolescents benefit most not from lectures but from trusted adults who offer facts with sensitivity and create an atmosphere where no question is too embarrassing to ask. Let us now talk about substance abuse that has turned out to be a rampant and a serious problem. One of the most crucial and potential harmful problems that today's youth and adolescent encounter is that of substance abuse. Adolescents indulging in drug or alcohol abuse is one of the worst nightmares for most parents whose wards are in this vulnerable age group. Hence, drug and alcohol usage by adolescents and young family members brings serious stressors to families. The teenagers are generally initiated into substance abuse out of curiosity, peer pressure, or as a coping mechanism for stress or trauma. The health cost of drug abuse is observed in lowered immunity to infections and even malnutrition that may contribute to a variety of health problems. Direct impact is seen on the central nervous system, which can even lead to short-term memory impairments. In fact, most of the deaths of adolescents and young adults from accidents, injuries are often related to substance abuse. Combining driving with drinking has a lethal impact on young adults and adolescents. Further, there are long-term effects of substance abuse on the psyche of people. Higher drug use is associated with low social and intellectual skills such as poor problem solving and impaired social relationships. Depression, hostility, and anxiety are among the common outcomes of long-term substance abuse. Socially, research shows that there is a substantial increase in work and school related difficulties among people involved in substance abuse. One of the major areas of concern for social researchers has been the impact of family life on the susceptibility of adolescents and youth to get involved in substance abuse. It is often held that dysfunctional family life increases the chances of drug addiction among adolescents. Studies show that the disruption of the functional property of the family systems, for example, family rituals, problem solving strategies, would in turn provide an environment conducive to greater drug abuse by members of subsequent generations. Another concern is that drug use in a family increases all kinds of abuses, especially sexual and physical abuse, which may trigger drug abuse among adolescents. Family history of drug abuse is one of the most potent factors in adolescent drug abuse. Research show that sibling or parental drug use increases the probability of drug use among adolescents. When parents or other elders use drugs such as cigarette or alcohol, it indicates to children that these behaviors are allowed, if not actually expected in the family. High drug use in families, especially by parents, disrupts functions like providing care and support to children, positive parenting, problem solving, and decision making, which in turn provides a conducive environment for drug abuse by children. Undoubtedly, parental drug abuse diminishes the ability to exert effective monitoring and supervision. Such parenting allows children to mingle with peers who are frequently involved in drug abuse. Parental drug abuse poses a poor and faulty role modeling for children. It blocks effective parent child communication and changes the interpersonal trust, worth, love, and respect. It thus may lead to all kinds of child abuse, physical, verbal, and even sexual. Parents have to be vigilant. A young person withdrawing, changing friend circles, becoming aggressive, these may be cues, not defiance. Families who respond with acquisition or punishment may unknowingly push the adolescent further into secrecy. But those who express concerns without condemnation, show who notice shifts and ask what is going on rather than what is wrong with you, can open a path towards healing. Stress, failure, and coping are the part and parcel of life, including adolescents and youngsters. Failure is a part of life, but to an adolescent, it can feel like the end of the world, especially when success is tied to the sense of self worth. A failed test, a rejection, even a conflict with a friend can cause deep internal distress. If home is a place where mistakes are met with empathy and perspective, young people learn to recover. But when errors are met with sarcasm or silence, shame takes root. Adolescents thrive when their efforts are recognized, when setbacks are seen as lessons, not judgments. Another serious problem is suicide. The heaviest silence is the one that surrounds emotional pain. Adolescents who consider ending their lives often don't want to live. They want the pain to stop and don't see another way. Some give subtle signs with withdrawn demeanor, statements about hopelessness, sudden change in behavior. Too often, these signs are missed or dismissed. A teen may say, I don't feel good anymore, and get distracted. You will be fine. But in homes where feelings are not just tolerated but welcomed, where emotional pain is seen as a weakness but as a call for support, such crises can be prevented. It is the quiet presence, not the non judgmental ear, and the steady reassurance that adolescents find a reason to hold on. Just to recap, parenting styles can be effective or not so effective. Positive or effective parenting is when parents who maintain open communication, respect autonomy, and monitor peer groups without being intrusive can help adolescents balance their influence. For instance, discussing values and listening without judgment fosters trust. Not so effective parenting includes authoritarian or disengaged parents who create emotional gap that peers quickly fill. Adolescents may rebel or conform to peer norms to gain identity validation. Let's take the example of bullying. It deeply affects adolescents' mental health, leading to depression, anxiety, or aggression. Victims may internalize shame, while perpetrators often have unresolved anger or poor modeling. Empathetic parents recognize behavioral cues and intervene early. Building emotional literacy at home and teaching empathy can prevent both victimization and aggression. On the contrary, dismissive attitude that says kids will be kids or exposure to family violence can reinforce bullying behavior or prevent children from disclosing their peers. Parenting plays a crucial role in preventing, mitigating, and managing the challenges faced by adolescents and young adults, such as substance abuse, aggression and violence, academic and career problems, relationship issues, and even suicidal tendencies. Different styles can either support well being or flare up difficulties, affecting everything from academic performance and mental health to social relationships and even adult outcomes. Parenting adolescents requires adaptability, empathy, and awareness of modern day challenges, while adolescents in are in transition, so are their families. Social workers are bridges that help families navigate through these turbulent yet formative years. Their interventions promote resilience, safety, and healthy communication. Our role is to guide, educate, and support families, ensuring our youth grow into responsible, confident, and emotionally secure individuals. Remember, behind every struggling adolescent is a family waiting to be empowered. Thank you.